Amara sat at the edge of her family's small, dilapidated hut, staring at the horizon. The sun was setting over the village, casting a warm orange glow over the palm trees and thatched roofs. She was known as the most beautiful girl in the village, with her flawless skin and delicate features. But despite her beauty, her family was plagued by poverty. Amara's mother, Neka, was determined to change their fortunes, and for years she had been plotting a way out. The family had little to eat most days, and their clothes were worn and torn. Neka often whispered into Amara's ear, reminding her that beauty was a powerful tool, one that could secure their future. Neka had heard that Chief Emeka, the wealthiest man in the village, had taken an interest in Amara. Though Chief Emeka was much older and already had several wives, Neka saw this as an opportunity. "Your beauty can bring us out of this poverty," she often told Amara. Amara's father, Okonkwo, did not share his wife's enthusiasm. He was a simple man who believed in love and happiness above all else. He had always imagined his daughter marrying for love, not for wealth. But Okonkwo was outnumbered. The rest of the family supported Neka's plan, seeing Amara's marriage to Chief Emeka as their ticket to a better life. For Amara, the situation was more complicated. She was deeply in love with Kolechi, a humble young man she had known since childhood. Kolechi was a hard-working farmer, but his earnings were meager, barely enough to support himself, let alone a family. Despite their love for each other, the pressures of poverty loomed large in Amara's mind. She wanted more than what Kolechi could offer. She wanted the fine clothes, the big house, and the sense of security that came with wealth. One evening, as Amara and Kolechi sat beneath the large mango tree where they often met, Kolechi sensed her growing unease. "What's troubling you, Amara?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Amara hesitated, her heart torn between her love for Kolechi and her family's expectations. "I don't know if love is enough, Kolechi," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Kolechi's heart sank. He had heard the rumors about Chief Emeka's interest in Amara, but he had hoped they were just that, rumors. "Is it the chief?" he asked, his tone more urgent now. Amara nodded, her eyes downcast. "My mother says he can give me and my family everything we've ever wanted. They're depending on me, Kolechi." Kolechi grabbed her hands, his voice pleading. "I don't care about wealth, Amara. I care about you. We can build a life together even if it's hard. We'll make it work." Amara looked into his eyes, wanting to believe him, but the weight of her family's expectations and the allure of Chief Emeka's wealth pressed heavily on her. She had seen what poverty had done to her parents, the way it had worn them down, and she didn't want that for herself. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure on Amara grew. Neka constantly reminded her of the sacrifices the family had made for her, while Chief Emeka's emissaries arrived with gifts, promising a life of luxury and comfort. Okonkwo tried to reason with Amara, begging her to follow her heart, but his words seemed to fall on deaf ears. Then one day, Kolechi received a visit from one of Chief Emeka's men. The man handed him a large sack filled with money, more than Kolechi had ever seen in his life. "The chief has asked me to give you this," the man said, his voice cold and detached. "He wishes for you to leave Amara alone and move on with your life. The money should be enough for you to find another wife, one who isn't promised to the chief." Kolechi's blood boiled with anger and pain. He wanted to throw the money back in the man's face, but he knew that doing so would change nothing. Chief Emeka's wealth was too powerful, and Kolechi was powerless against it. The realization crushed him. That night, Kolechi went to Amara one last time, hoping to change her mind. "Amara, please," he begged, "don't let him buy you. Don't trade our love for his money." Amara's heart ached as she listened to Kolechi's words, but in her mind, the decision had already been made. She had seen the joy on her mother's face when the first of Chief Emeka's gifts arrived, and she had felt the relief that came with the promise of a better life. "I'm sorry, Kolechi," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I have to do this for my family." And with that, Kelechi knew he had lost her. The wedding took place soon after. Chief Emeka spared no expense, and the entire village turned out to witness the union of the beautiful young Amara and the wealthy, aging chief. Amara's mother beamed with pride, knowing that her daughter's marriage had secured the family's future. Even Amara's siblings, who had once gone to bed hungry, now walked with their heads held high, their new clothes and full bellies a testament to their sister's sacrifice. Only Okonkwo remained silent, his heart heavy with sorrow. He knew that Amara's choice had been driven by desperation, not love, and he feared what it would do to her in the long run. But he was powerless to stop it. For Amara, life as Chief Emeka's newest wife was both exhilarating and stifling. She had everything she had ever wanted, a grand house, fine clothes, servants at her beck and call. She bore him children, and he treated her with kindness, even favoring her above his other wives. She was the jewel of his household, and he spared no effort in making her happy. But despite the luxury, there was an emptiness inside her that she could not ignore. She missed the simplicity of her life with Kelechi, the way his eyes had lit up when he saw her, the warmth of his touch. Chief Emeka was generous, but he was not Kelechi. And though she lived in comfort, her heart yearned for the love she had left behind. Kelechi, meanwhile, struggled to move on. The money he had received from Chief Emeka allowed him to live comfortably, but it could not mend his broken heart. The villagers whispered about him, mocking him for being bought off so easily. "The chief paid for your woman," they would say with cruel laughter. Though he eventually married another woman, Eda, no one knew how much of his heart he had left to give her. Life in the village moved on, but the story of Amara and Kelechi became a cautionary tale, one that was told over and over again. It was a story of how poverty could force people to make impossible choices, of how wealth could buy happiness but not love. The villagers would often say, "Money can build a house, but it cannot build a home." Years passed, and Amara's children grew up surrounded by luxury, never knowing the struggles their mother had faced. Chief Emeka, now even older, was content with the life he had built, surrounded by his many wives and children. But Amara, despite her wealth and status, often found herself staring out of the window of her grand house, thinking of what might have been. One day, as she walked through the village, she saw Kelechi. He was older now, his face lined with years of hard work, but there was still a sadness in his eyes. He was with his wife, Eda, and their young children. Amara watched from a distance as Kelechi smiled at his wife, but she could see the hollow look behind his smile. It was then that she realized something profound. Poverty had not only deprived her of Kelechi, but it had also robbed Kelechi of his ability to truly love again. Amara's life was filled with riches, but her heart remained heavy. She had made her choice, and she had to live with it. She had given her family everything they had ever wanted, but in doing so, she had lost the one thing that mattered most to her, the love of her life. In the end, the villagers were right. Poverty had made them powerless, forcing them to trade love for survival. And while wealth had brought Amara the good things of life, it could never fill the void that Kelechi had left behind.